I want to start just by giving you a little bit of background on me. I'm sure we've all looked at each other's LinkedIn profiles, but just to add a little bit of colour to it, I started my career on the agency side. I worked in an integrated marketing agency for nearly 20 years. I ran it for 15 of those years, and we're based in the West End of London. We had some clients across different sectors and functions. I sold that agency and was really at a crossroads, I guess, in my career. I couldn't continue to work on the agency side because of my non-compete clauses on the sale. I didn't want to go on the dark side and become a client. I just about had enough of marketing directors by the time I finished with the agency. Apologies to any marketing directors on the call today. But I was at a crossroads, and I thought, well, actually, it was my wife who thought, well, how about if you were able to choose where you work, when you work, what you do, and who you work for. So that was really the challenge. And I found this invisible market of interim, and put together an interim proposition as a launcher of brands, a relauncher of brands. So I've still got people coming in. Yeah, I just admit those. Yeah, I launched myself into the market with an interim proposition. Good morning. And over the last 20 years, I've had an interim career which has just about achieved those four objectives, I guess. And I work 9 months on, 3 months off. And I've worked again across a very different number of sectors. Okay. Just going to go back to this. Sorry, I've just got people coming in.
Agent partners in the West End of London, integrated agency.
Okay. Still see that, Andrew?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so 9 months on, 3 months off, various clients, relaunching brands, launching new brands. About 3 years ago, I had a number of people coming to me saying, can you tell us about interim? We're trying to get into the interim world, finding it difficult. We're registering on sites, sending out emails. Our CVs are like confetti. And I said, fine, I'll help you out. In fact, I'll just talk you through what I know. And so it was a case of really, you buy the beer, I'll do the talking. So I started to help people out, and they were getting their assignments. And a friend of mine, a guy called Mark Evans, he said, look, you need to put this into a program. So I launched a program. I ran the research first and then launched a program in March of 23. And for the last, 2.5 years, I've done coaching the program, but I've also done fractional interim rather than full-time interim, and I'll explain that in a second. Over the last couple of years or so, then I've had 130 clients, all functions, all sectors, and they tend to be at board or board -1 level. So I've still got people pinging on my. Let's just admit these people. Okay. We'll get there in a minute. There we go. Yeah, so they all tend to be board -1, that sort of level. So that's my background. Let's get into the program itself. So it is designed for executives who are either new to interim or those that are established interims that need a fresh approach to the market. And it's designed to secure assignments, both fractional and full-time interim. What I mean by full-time interim is 5 days a week. Over the average length of assignment is 9 months. Fractional interim, we used to know it as part-time. Now it's got a nice, sexy American title. It means a fraction of the time. So I've just finished one, and that was 3 days a week for 3 months as an interim CMO for a fintech. So that's what it's all about. The whole program is designed to secure assignments. And what I was saying to the colleagues that I was working with is that don't make the mistake I did. It's not a numbers game. It's not just a case of putting out all the emails and CVs. It's far more strategic than that. It needs a strategic approach to the market because it's difficult to navigate. So that's what the interim development program does, and it's based on a very simple marketing principle. Something that I've been trying to do, and I'm sure all the marketeers on here will agree, they've been trying to do it as well for all our careers, getting the right messaging to the right targets. Sounds easy. It's not. It's a difficult market to navigate. So what I'm going to do with over the next 40 minutes or so is I'm going to go through the 10 elements of the program. As I said at the top of the hour, for those people who just joined us, I'm going to send a copy of this deck to you. And if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat box or ask me at the end. We're going to look at the 10 elements of the program. We're going to look at methods to secure assignments and profitable assignments. And we're also going to look at the mistakes I made when I entered the market. And you can kind of learn from that. I'll highlight those and say, don't go there. I made that mistake. Don't do it. And as I say, we're going to have a Q&A after that. So from a very high level, the interim development program, it's one-to-one. It's personalized. It's 3 1.5 hour sessions over 3 weeks. And those sessions start with an analysis of the interim market. So we look at the market itself and we look at the important channel in the market, which is the interim service providers, the ISPs. For those who don't know, the ISPs, they are recruitment agencies that are specifically for the interim sector. They don't like being called recruitment agencies, by the way. They are interim service providers. They service their clients with our skill set. So in the first session, we look at the market itself and then the ISP market. We then, from the learnings we take out of that analysis, we then go into the messaging. Session 2, messaging, and that is your title, your interim proposition, your personal brand, your interim CV. So we spend a lot of time taking the learnings from session 1 and allowing that to direct us in drafting our messaging in session 2. We also look at commercials in session 2, day rates, how we calculate a day rate. We look at a profitability plan, and we look at the wonderful world of IR35 as well, because it's important we work outside of IR35. The third and final session, we move from messaging into targeting, and we look at the ISPs, the interim service providers, and I provide a database, a unique database for us to do that. We look at the role of LinkedIn, and we look at our personal network as well. Those are the 3 core channels to market. And then we pull it all together into a strategic marketing plan, either to launch a new interim into the sector or to relaunch an existing interim to refresh their approach to the market. So I'm going to go through a shallow dive into each of those 10 elements. So we'll do it by session. So first one, session 1, key learnings from the interim sector. What we're trying to do here is establish the dynamics of the market, the need state. What are the drivers of interim? Why does a client take on an interim? If we can do that, we can create a messaging that satisfies that need state. And by looking at those learnings from the market, it allows us to draft the interim proposition. The interim proposition is absolutely vital. This is a quote from Doug Baird, who runs NSCG, New Street Consulting Group. They are the largest of the ISPs. They're the biggest and, in my view, the best. And they say, without a clear and compelling interim proposition, you'll struggle to secure interim assignments. They are absolutely right, because they spend their time talking to their clients about their problems and identifying skill set solutions to those problems. And the way the ISPs do that is they use our interim proposition, not our CV. They use our interim proposition. So this first session, looking at the sector, as I say, it directs us in drafting that interim proposition, which is all about what you do. Your personal brand is just as important, but this is about who you are. This is your management style, your soft skills, your emotional equity, if you like, your collaborative skills. And so, again, looking at the key learnings of the market, it helps us draft that personal brand. It will also give us cues to the interim CV. It's very different from a permanent CV, as we'll see. So in the full program, we look at where the assignments come from, by function, by sector, geographically, by business type, by management level, and so on. We look at the need state, the drivers, and the objectives of interim. And we look at the process of how we get an interim assignment. And it's always fast. No long interviews, no long onboarding, no long induction either. So I'm just going to pick out a couple of slides from this first point in session 1. This is just at 35,000 feet, a just kind of broad overview of the market. Most of us are between 40 and 60. The average age of an interim is 52. The reason for that is that's what clients want. They want bags, years of experience, and all the expertise that comes with that experience. So you may have seen all of this talk on LinkedIn about ageism and how age works against us in the permanent sector. Well, let me tell you, it really works for us in the interim sector. Some of the research I did nearly 3 years ago now, looking at why people move from permanent to interim. These are the top 4. First one was about control over your time rather than your job controlling your time, i.e. work-life balance. Number 2 was about kind of achieving everything that you wanted to achieve within the corporate sector. Number 3 was getting away from corporate politics. I was really surprised that was in at number 3. And number 4 was the variety of work and dynamic work. This is not keeping the seat warm. This is not BAU. This is transformational work. Another slide from this session is looking at where the assignments are found. So this is assignment volume by channel share. So the ISPs, the interim service providers, they account for over half of the market. 52% of assignments come through the ISPs. Really important we understand how to work with them. One's own network accounts for 35% of assignments, LinkedIn only 13%. In fact, only 4% of assignments actually appear on LinkedIn. And the difficulty within the market, the reason it's so difficult to navigate is that most assignments, particularly the senior ones, are not advertised. The ISPs don't tend to advertise them. Personal network, by definition, reach out to the network. They don't advertise them. So you've got 85% of assignments completely invisible. And that's what I meant earlier about when I started to put myself into the market. I found this invisible market because the assignments, you've got to go out and look for them. They're not going to come to you. So we must be visible with the right messaging to the right targets within these 3 channels to be able to get access to those invisible assignments. So the learning there is don't do what I did. Don't spend all the time on LinkedIn thinking that's where I'm going to find my assignment. It's not a marketplace for assignments. It's just a showcase for us to be found. Let's look at the assignment roles and need state. Assignment roles dominated by transformation, up there at nearly 29%. Assignment needs, again, change and transformation, 39%. You've got project management, which I think is actually managing change. That's another 15%. So you've got some, 55% of needs is about change and transformation. So when you're looking at your interim proposition, when you're drafting your interim proposition and when you're drafting your interim CV, focus on business change, focus on transformation. That's the driver of the market. And when we say transformation, it's the kind of a generic. In my world, it's brand transformation. That's what I do. I relaunch brands. I work with people in HR, and that's about structural transformation. And so it goes on through the functions. It's a very broad church. When interim came into the UK, it's actually a Dutch concept to get around their employment laws. Came into the UK about 25 years ago, and it was really all about gap assignments, maternity cover. I've lost my CPO. It's going to take me 9 months to recruit. That's fallen off a cliff. Only accounts for about 7% now of sort of BAU, keeping the seat warm. This piece of research is from Boyden. Some of you will know Boyden, a very good and big ISP. They looked at the drivers of interim. And what they found was that BAU, gap assignments, was only 6%. So the research is about right, 6-7%, something like that. But look at this, transformation and turnaround, 53%. 53% were drivers of assignments. Change and growth, 39%. And I've lumped those together because I think they're virtually the same. So transformation, turnaround, business change and fixing, that's the drive. They are the drivers of interim. Transformation, turnaround, business change, fixing, all of which lead to fast and sustainable business growth. That is the purpose of interim. Transformation, turnaround, business change and fixing, to create sustainable business growth. Let's move on to the ISP. As I say, it's a big sector. There's over 220 of them. When I started, there was a couple of dozen, but that was 20 years ago. You know, the market is massive now. It's a 2.5 billion pound market in the UK, and it's sucked all these businesses in. So we've got over 220 of them in the UK. They account, as we've just seen, for 52% of assignments. So in the programme, we look at that database. I've got a unique database, which I'll show you in a second, of over 220 ISPs. And we can analyse that by sector, by function, by market share, by service ranking, by business, and so on and so on. So that allows us to start developing targeting strategies. So identifying all of those ISPs that are relevant to your sector and or your function, and to allow us to start selecting a short list of maybe 5, maybe 10 that really are your eyes and ears out in the marketplace, finding those invisible assignments. So that's what we do in the full programme. We identify all those that are relevant to you. We identify a short list, and then we talk about how to engage them, how to develop that relationship, how to brief them, how to equip them to represent us in the marketplace. And I promise you, it's far more than just a CV, occasional email and a call. This is still looking at the ISP sector. Most of us work with a few. I mean, there's over 220 ISPs out there, but most of us, 86% of us, work with somewhere between 1 and 10. And when I say work with, I mean establish a relationship with. So we want to target those that want to work with us. I don't want to be just a CV on a database. Don't want to be a number on a database. I want to work with those that want to work with us. And here again, this is a quote again from NSCG, and they say, we're out there every day talking to our clients and we know our interims well. They're not just CVs in a database to us. When a brief comes in, we're able to identify the right person. With the right expertise, that's your interim proposition. And the right personality, that's your personal brand. So we're giving them what they want, but we are selecting our ISPs carefully. I don't want to be a number on a database. I don't want to work with ISPs that have a business model around a database. I want to be able to work with ISPs that know me well and can represent me effectively in the marketplace rather than just through a CV on their database. So in the full program, as I say, we work through the database. I provide that database to you. We work through it. We identify all those that are relevant to you by sector, by function. And we identify that short list of 5 or 10 that we're going to work with in partnership to secure the assignment. Why do we do that? Why do we spend so much time on those ISPs, particularly that short list? Well, in last year's research, 75% of assignments sourced through an interim's own network of ISP consultants, i.e. their top 5. 75% of assignments. And then over half, 54%, got an assignment from an ISP they worked with within the past, i.e. their top 5. So once they're briefed and you've got that relationship, they will continue to place you. So it really is worth investing in that relationship. Okay, so session 2 is about messaging. We take all the learnings from that analysis of the market and the analysis of the ISPs, and that directs us in developing your messaging. And we start with the interim proposition and the personal brand, because that is the most important one to get right, that interim proposition. So we need to provide them with that interim proposition. If you like it, it's like their script when they're talking about us to their clients. But I promise you, the CV is not enough. They need the interim proposition from us. So in the full program, We look at examples of best in class. We work together. I write your interim proposition as homework between session 1 and 2. You write it as homework in session 1 and 2, between the two. And then we bring them into session 2 and we workshop them and finesse them. I kind of know how to do these now. I've written about 130 of them, and there's a particular way to structure them. And I'll talk about how we use that interim proposition, how it features on your CV, how it features on LinkedIn. And I'll talk about the 5 key messages that have got to be in your interim proposition and things not to say in your interim proposition. So we work together in drafting that and workshopping. And I'm getting some feedback from that. Okay, so your interim proposition, essential for the ISPs. That's what they use when they're securing us a meeting with a potential client. The personal brand, when I researched it, it was the clients who wanted the insight into the individual, the personal brand. Because they said to me, one of them said to me, look, David, we recruit people, not CVs. Give us an insight into the individual. Because a CV is all, it's quite vanilla, it's commercial language, it's very functional, mechanical. It's never about us, our soft skills. So it was a requirement. The personal brand was the requirement. From. Can you mute your? Go on mute, and I'm not going to get the feedback. Thank you very much. Yeah, so it was the clients who wanted the personal brand. ISPs want the interim proposition. Once we've developed that interim proposition, it becomes your consistent messaging. And every marketeer will tell you, you've got to be consistent in your messaging. So it is the script for the ISPs. They hate me saying it, but it is. It will feature on your interim CV. You use it in networking. You use it in briefings of your ISPs. You use it in responding to a JD, and you feature it on your LinkedIn profile. And we cover all of that in the program. There's 3 C words you should not use: consultant, contractor, and company. They confuse clients. Our language is a bit loose in interim. We talk about, contractor and freelancer in interim and fractional advisor and NED and so on and so on. It's quite confusing for clients. So I won't go any further on that, but if anybody wants to interrogate that, put it in the chat box and I'll answer the question later. So in the full IDP, we develop the clear and compelling interim proposition together, and we draft your engaging personal brand together. Let's talk about CV, next part of messaging. And we start from the basis that a permanent CV will not work in the interim sector. It is simply the wrong tool. If you think about what a permanent CV is designed to do, it's designed to get a job. We don't want a job. We're there to help solve a client's problems. So we have to restructure the interim CV. I worked with a CV consultant about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, and we developed a completely new strategy for an interim CV format. And we were both marketeers, actually, and we did what marketeers do. We go to the target market, forget the candidate, because all the CV consultants say that it's about the candidate. It's written by the candidate, for the candidate, about the candidate, and so on. Forget that. Think about the target market. How do they want their information? So we researched it with clients, and from that, we were able to develop a new interim strategy and format and structure. We tested it, and it was seen to be in the top 1% of interim CVs in the UK. And it's designed to overcome what we call the 10-second rule. Although the CEO of Career Toolbox would say that's 7 seconds. He says that in our study on how long a recruiter spends looking at a CV, they found it was under 7 seconds. I know I do it when I'm recruiting an interim marketing manager, for example. I'm scanning the CV. I'm trying to get through it quite quickly. So we identified that and we developed a strategy around it. So in the full program, we talk about the role of the interim CV. We talk about how we structure it. We talk about how we use testimonials. Come on to that in a second. We talk about how we feature the interim proposition and the personal brand. And it's a completely new style of CV. So I take your CV, put it through that strategy, and you finish up with a better CV, an interim CV for the market. So let me just pull up a couple of slides from point 4 in session 2 about messaging. The length of CVs. My goodness, there's a lot of nonsense talked about the length of a CV, and I promise you, I've seen some interesting ones. I've had people who've got 25 years experience. They've done maybe a dozen interim roles, and I look at their CV, and it's in 8-point copy, narrow margin, squashed together, completely impenetrable. And I say, well, why is it laid out like that? Oh, yeah, well, it's on 2 pages. Somebody told me it should be on 2 pages. I don't care how long the interim CV is. It can be quite difficult if you're like me, you've done 18 assignments and you've had a full-time 15-20 year career before that. Quite difficult to get all that into a 2 or 3 pages. So don't worry about the length of your CV. Worry about how it looks. Make it look easy to read, not impenetrable. So we as I say, we rework your CV for the interim sector. When we're talking about CVs, I'm going to talk about testimonials. Testimonials are, without doubt, the secret weapon in interim. And you'll see them sitting passively on LinkedIn recommendations. You may have seen some of the ones for the interim development program on my profile. I think there's about 100 of them, and they sit there quite passively. But they are extremely effective in leveraging a new assignment for 3 reasons. Firstly, it gives your CV impartiality. And yes, I'm saying that testimonials should sit on your CV, and I'll show you that in the interim CV session. But it gives that level of impartiality, because the CV can't be impartial because we write it ourselves, about ourselves. Testimonials, if you read them, are often about who the individual is rather than what they do, which is great because the rest of the CV talks about what you do. Most importantly, when I researched this, we found that testimonials are the closest thing to a personal referral, and the personal referral is the best way of getting an assignment. You've probably experienced that. So the advice is build that bank of testimonials. Use LinkedIn recommendations as a vehicle, a mechanic for gathering that bank of testimonials. And they don't all have to be from your boss. They can be from your direct reports. They can be from your suppliers and your cross-functional colleagues and so on. And what we do in the full program is we look at how to use those testimonials actively in the marketplace rather than passively on LinkedIn. So it's about how you use them on your CV, on your response to a brief, on your briefing of the ISPs, and so on and so on. They are very, very effective. Let's talk money. So number 5 is day rate calculations, and trying to be as profitable as we can be when we're on assignment. Around about half of us work less than 180 days a year compared to permanent role of 220, because that's largely why we want to be an interim. As I said earlier, I work 9 months on and 3 months off. I've got colleagues who take a month off between each assignment. Some just take a week or so just to sort of resurface. It really depends on how you want to carve it out with your lifestyle. But what's important is that while we're on assignment, we are as profitable as we possibly can. So in the full program, we look at current day rates. I highlight the poor advice out there, because there is some poor advice out there on day rate calculations. And I show you a better way of calculating a day rate, but not only calculating it, but how you negotiate it, taking the sting out of that negotiation. And we talk about how you invoice, how you charge, what you can charge for. And we look at the difference in day rates for contractors, consultants, freelancers, fractionals and interims and so on. So we look at a full profitability plan to be as profitable as we possibly can be while we're on assignment. And it can be more profitable, and it often has been for me, I must say, more profitable than a permanent job. So this is just a quick look at some of the day rates. We've got here, a third of assignments are over £1,000 a day. It does vary by sector. If you look at the breakdown between private sector and public sector, the private sector pays over £250 more per day than the public sector. And then you've got difference in verticals. The highest paying sector is actually the legal sector. Most interims working in the legal sector, the day rates will begin with a 2. I can't get into it. I've tried. But next one down is finance. Then you get down into sort of retail, FMCG, and then you start getting into fashion that I've worked in for a while, entertainment, hospitality, and so on. So it does vary. But you should focus on being a day rate interim because you will attract the more higher paid assignments rather than going in as a FTC or a contractor. But here's the day rates at the moment. The average day rate at the moment, £894. A lot of people say, oh, there's more people coming into the sector. There's a downward pressure on day rates. No, there's not. It's still going up. It's up 16% since 2020. It's up. Okay, it's not just small, but 2.5% year on year. So it is quite quite good out there. Actually, it's not pressing. It's not lowering the day rate. Sorry, I'm just admitting somebody else in. So yeah, in the full program, we look at how to calculate your best day rate, and then how to negotiate your best day rate, because it is difficult. And often our first conversation with a client is about day rates, and it's a quite difficult conversation to have. So we talk about how to negotiate the best day rate. Number 6 is setup requirements. I'm not going to go through this in any detail. For those of you who are already established interims, they'll all be in place. But there's things that need to be there that will be expected by clients and by ISPs. And it will make your assignment more profitable and efficient as well. Things like the role of a limited company and VAT and professional indemnity and so on. But that is just a list of 10 items that need to be in place. Not expensive, not difficult to do, not time consuming. Let's move on to the third session. And the third session is about targeting. So the targeting is through those 3 channels we talked about, the ISPs, LinkedIn, and our personal network. So let's just look at the 4 elements we cover in targeting and during session 3. The first thing to say is that it's a big market now. As I say, there were only a couple of dozen maybe ISPs when I started 20 years ago, and I started creating a database then, because it is it's an important route to market, and I continue to work on that database. This database is probably 18, 19 years old, but it's, when I say old, I started at 18 or 19 years ago, so it's constantly refreshed. It's as up to date as I can possibly make it, and I think it's unique. I don't know anybody else that has got a database like this. Yeah, it's got all of the ISPs, 220 ISPs down the left-hand side, market share, contact details, a descriptor, what they specialize in by sector, by function, by type of business, and so on and so on. Contact, phone details, click through to their website, and whether they claim transformations as core, which is the last column there. And you wouldn't be surprised to see that about a third of them just say, we are sector agnostic, we just do transformation. We're function agnostic, we just do transformation, because we've seen how important that is as a driver for interims. So in the full program, we look at that database. That database becomes yours. We work through it. We start to identify those that are relevant to you, and we can carve it up and filter it in many different ways. As we can see there, market share, service ranking, sectors, functions, transformation, and so on and so on. And what we're trying to do there is identify a long list, which is all of those ISPs that are relevant to you, by sector, by function, and then select maybe 5 to 10, which become your shortlist of those that we want to work in partnership with, because we can't work in partnership with them all. And then we develop it into a CRM program. As you can see, it's a clunky old Excel spreadsheet here, but we turned it into a CRM program using HubSpot. Some of you may be familiar with HubSpot. It's very good. It's cheap. Actually, it's free. You can download it off their website. It populates itself from our targets' websites. So here's someone's top 10 here, or top 5 to 10. Got Wilton Bain there. You click on Wilton Bain and it opens up like this. So you've got all the details there that you need. I won't go through it in detail, but do have a look at HubSpot if you're thinking of taking the program. It's a really good CRM program that makes our lives a lot easier. Role of LinkedIn. I said this at the top of the hour, really, that LinkedIn has a role, but it's certainly not the marketplace to find assignments. It's really the marketplace for us to present ourselves to the ISPs and to the clients. So in the full program on LinkedIn, we do an analysis of your current profile. And we look at how the ISPs and clients use LinkedIn, because they spend, ISPs spend, I think it's 20,000 a year fee to LinkedIn to search for the right skill set. If they don't have the right interim for a particular brief on their books, then they'll search for the skill set. So it's really important that we're set up to be found, and that's what it's all about for LinkedIn. Have we got the right setup? Are we saying the right things? Have we got the right messaging on there? And have we got the right profile on
Yes,
LinkedIn?
sorry, I did see you doing it this morning, but
Can you, if you're asking a question, can you leave it to the end? And if not, could you put yourself on mute, please? Thank you. I'm just looking here at a couple of people. I've taken their surnames out to protect the innocent. But these two, they're both interims, but they don't manage their LinkedIn profiles very well. We've got Jason at the top there, who's an interim finance director, which is obviously like a mountain to climb because he's put a mountain behind him. I don't know why. Then we have Rob at the bottom. He's gone to the trouble of badging his picture. He's open to work, and then underneath his name, he says, "Yeah, I am open to work, and I'm a freelance." We don't know what, but he obviously gets on a plane in Dubai a lot. So these are bad, and you know, then it's not difficult to find those. I promise you. The way that you might like to approach it is think of it as an ad. You know, it is our shop window. Let's put an ad in our shop window. So use an ad format. I'm not saying mine's perfect, but I think it's better than Jason's and Rob's. I use all the logos of the companies I've worked for on assignment, and I think it's quite powerful visually. So strong image supports your interim proposition, not a mountain or a plane. Headline, your name and your title, if you can do it, as you can see on mine. Then you have 220 characters to really sell yourself. Jason and Rob use about, what, 30 or 40. There's 220 characters there to use for your interim proposition. And then a call to action. And that could be to look at your further on down your profile. For me, it's about booking a discovery call. So that's how I approach it. And we spend some time on what your profile looks like and what you're doing on LinkedIn to be able to raise your profile so you can be found by the ISPs. Number 9, network development. Without network, I haven't met anybody yet who enjoys networking. Oh, good, I'm going to a networking session this evening. No, I think we all find them quite difficult. But network is important. This piece of research, 57% of interims source one or more assignment from their ISP. That's about right. ISPs account for 52% volume. But look at this. 71% of interim executives source one or more assignment from their personal network. Double the market share of network. Of personal network, double. So this is really important. So we have to have two different strategies, one for the ISPs and one for personal network, and that's what we work through in this session. We've created 4 strategies that will develop your network, grow your network, and leverage new assignments from it. I won't go through them now. The ones on the right here: situational assignment, situational alignment, competitor marketplace, ripple effect, and immediate network. I can't go through it now because of time, but we talk about in using this these 4 strategies in how you build your network, how you leverage it, how do you use testimonials to leverage assignments from your network, and so on. And then finally, number 10 is we pull the whole thing together. So this is the activation strategy. And this is taking everything we've learned, all your messaging. So you've got your interim title or descriptor, you've got your interim proposition drafted, clear and compelling interim proposition, you've got an engaging personal brand, got a new interim CV, you've got a bank of testimonials now that you can use effectively in the market, and you've got a LinkedIn profile set up to be found by ISPs and clients. And then in your targeting, we've identified all the right ISPs for you. We've identified those 5 to 10 we're going to work closely with. We've looked at how we can develop your network. And as I say, we've looked at your LinkedIn profile and how you post to be high profile. And this is the activation strategy. It's a pyramid. Start at the top, work down. I used it every year, every summer. I would populate this with my targets. It structures your approach. It stops you being ad hoc in the marketplace. It gives you a better strategy, prioritizes your time, prioritizes your messaging, gives you structure to going out and getting that assignment. And I have to say, you don't need any marketing skills. We've done the marketing, we've done the messaging, we've done the targeting. Okay, so with a minute to go, I said that I would look at sort of key learnings from this data session. I just want to summarize them. Firstly, LinkedIn, don't spend your time searching for assignments on LinkedIn. Those assignments that are advertised on LinkedIn, waste of time. Hundreds and hundreds of people apply. So we look at a different strategy, how to be found on LinkedIn. When you're thinking about your skill set, transformation, turnaround, business change, fixing, driving sustainable business growth, that's what you need to think about. Look at your CV through that lens. And of course, we'll draft that interim proposition and personal brand. And that personal brand is important for clients. They want to know how you operate, and we'll draft that together. So being visible, high profile with your ISPs, really important. So you get that database, we work on that database together, we turn it into a CRM program. And we develop marketing strategies for your ISPs, 52% assignments, and your personal network, 35%. Remember, a permanent CV won't work in this sector. It's the wrong tool. So we create a new interim CV for you. Don't position yourself as contractor, consultant, or company. It confuses the client. There's lots of research behind that, but maybe I can cover that later. Position yourself as a senior day rate interim executive. Be careful of the poor advice when calculating your day rate. There's a lot of poor advice out there. So I'll show you how to calculate your day rate, a profitable day rate, and importantly, how to negotiate it. Don't use case studies on your interim CV. Use testimonials. They're the secret weapon. Case studies makes the CV long and nobody will read them. Use the testimonials. And use an ad format for your LinkedIn profile so that it's set up to be found. And that is the program. So we've been through those 10 elements, shallow dived into those 10 elements across those 3 sessions. As I say, they are, I dial some up, some down, depending on the experience of the interim. I just want to finish with a couple of things. You will be, if you take the program, you will be fully equipped to launch into the interim sector or refresh your approach to the interim sector, because you'll have all the messaging, you'll have all the targeting. What's happening quite interestingly in the market sector with the ISPs is that they're recognizing the value of this interim development program. They're recognizing that we can supply quality interim ready candidates. So this is a note from Mark Kitchen, who's the boss at Williams Bain, one of the big ISPs, and he will continue to see people who have taken the interim development program, whereas others may find it difficult to get that meeting. So more and more of the ISPs are recognizing that those people who have taken the program are interim ready, and they are of a certain quality, should we say. He talks, that last line helps you build your program and your alumni. We've launched the IDP alumni. It launched earlier this week. And it's at the moment, it is a private group on LinkedIn. It's available to all of my past clients and existing clients and those that are joining the IDP. So we're launching this. It's very small at the moment in terms of the private group on LinkedIn. It'll grow quite fast. What we're trying to do here is create a community of senior interim ready executives that can build their skills. They can network with other interims and share opportunities, because we're often on assignment, and I get approached with an opportunity, with an assignment, and I can't take it. So where do I go with it? I sort of give it to some of my colleagues. This is the format where we can share opportunities that come to us. There's other benefits there that we'll go through it at another time, but there's a lot of work for us to do with the IDP alumni, but it would be great if you could, if you do take the course, to join the alumni. There's got a lot of ambitions for it. We also launched the interim list. This is a daily list direct to your inbox every day of new live assignments, not those that are advertised, not those that are advertised on LinkedIn with 350, 400 applications. So these are carefully collected across the marketplace. So they're new and they're live. If they're over 3 days old, then we've red flagged them. So it gives early access. And they're good assignments, quality assignments. There are, but what we've got here, this is today's, 750 a day, 500 to 750 a day, 800 to £1,000 a day. So they're quality assignments and they're live. So if you take the IDP, then you get the daily list into your inbox. Also launched the Interim Development Programme website. That launched this week as well. There's lots of stuff on there. Go and have a look at it. There's more data analysis. There's lots of FAQs on there. There's a sort of test whether you're interim ready already, whether you've got the right skill set. There's content hub. You can book discovery calls. There's testimonials and so on. So to summarize all of this, this is the support that we can give you when you're launching into interim, or whether you're relaunching, refreshing your approach into the market. The interim development program I've gone through today, we've gone a shallow dive into those 10 elements, and I hope you've gained some value from it as we've gone through those. And it is a personalized program. The IDP alumni, that's going to be important. That's going to give us the opportunity to network with other interims, senior interims, and exchange views and exchange opportunities of new assignments that perhaps we can't take on. Then we've got the IDP database. It's unique. It's an ISP database of 220 plus interim service providers. That becomes yours. And then there's the interim list I've just been through, the daily interim list of new live assignments. And then finally, the website. So go and have a look at that. There's more data on there. So that's the way that I can help you in your launch into the sector. So final slide from me. The program is personalized. It's done over Teams. It's one-to-one. I tailor it to the individual's experience and ambitions. If you'd like to have a discovery call, it's informal, free, a discovery call with me next week, week after, whatever, to answer any questions that may have been raised by today, and discuss how we can structure that program for you, because those 10 elements, we dial some of them up, some of them down. Fee for the total program is 1,950, but for the attendees today, I'm discounting that to 1,550. So, I think that's a fairly significant discount, and it equates to less than 2 days in terms of fees. So do have a look at the testimonials on my recommendations of other clients that have taken the program. And if you'd like to contact me, there's all the contact details on there. I'd like to introduce you to somebody. One of my former clients. I worked with Andrew in March, I think, of this year, and yeah, we worked together. He took the interim development program, and I'm going to hand over to him. I thought you'd just like to hear about how one of my clients got on with the program.
Thanks, David. And it's great to go through the whole program again in that sort of top line, because it reminded me of how much ground you cover. So I did the program in March. I spent 30 plus years in full-time work, and I wanted to pivot. I've kind of done sort of consulting kind of projects beforehand, but what I realized coming up against before taking the program, I'd realized it was different now. 3 or 4 years ago, it was a different way, different marketplace, but what I had realized is it was becoming more challenging and more difficult to get in front of ISPs, and actually the market has massively changed across since that time. So I came across David through an ISP, actually Susie Walker, and I being a Scottish background, I don't generally put my hand in my pocket for most things, but I did for David on this program. I have to say it was the best thing I've ever done. But everything's changed in terms of my approach to interim. It's massively important, because what it does, it gives you confidence. So having the right CV, having the right proposition, and really understanding and honing down what you're really about. Because when you've done 30 years of experience, you've kind of done an awful lot. So it's working out what that really sort of core values or core skills you have is really important. And so it means that your pitch, when you meet people, meet ISPs, CEOs, becomes very, very clear and very compelling. And it's something that you really believe in too. So yeah, the program was very, very good. There's a lot of homework to do on yourself, and I think that's very important too, because it challenges you a lot to cut down a lot of stuff about yourself, and really understand who you are and where you want to go. And it gives you all the tools. The marketing but sort of bit at the end, as a marketeer, it was actually fascinating going through that whole process that we do for clients or for companies on yourself, and it really works. That's the thing. When you pick up or you connect with an ISP and you say you've been through the program, you get a response. Whereas before I pitched and I didn't get a response. So we have all the elements in place to be interim ready, and I think that phrase that Dave has picked up on is the key one. I wasn't interim ready before I took the program, but after the program, I was. And I think that's the part or the aspect that we don't realize until you've been through the course is what that difference that it makes, is you really are interim ready afterwards, and you are and you can speak to that when an ISP comes back to you. And I think for them it shortcuts huge amounts of time and effort from their side to get someone like us who hasn't been interim ready to be ready to go and meet their clients. So for me, it's been the best thing I've paid for, and I couldn't recommend it more highly to you. There's probably a ton of questions, so David's probably ready to answer those. But if you want to ask about the course from a client perspective, or from for someone taking it, I'm very happy to answer any questions too. Someone's got to have a question.
How long does the course actually take? As in, I know it's first time is available from the 15th of December, but is it done in a week? Is it done in 3 weeks?
So yeah, thanks. So it's 3 1.5 hour sessions, usually over 3 or maybe 4 weeks. I don't try and cram it into a morning because there's too much information. And also we develop it as we go. You know, we're writing interim proposition, we're writing personal brand. It's not something we're just taking off the shelf and saying, you know, there you go, run that. So there is, as Andrew said, there is a little bit of homework between each session for me to do and for you to do. And then we bring it back into the following session and workshop it. So yeah, it's 1.5 hour sessions over around 3 or 4 weeks.
Thank you.
And the other thing I'll just say on the homework there, Sue, it's very interesting when you go through it and you look at your own brand, your own profile, and you're doing your work on yourself. And I think the more work you do, the more time you spend on it, the better it gets. So David is amazing at really understanding what your brand is and your profile, how to position that profile. But actually, the words have to come from us to be authentic. So the more time you can spend on that, I think the more or the better the proposition is coming out of it.
Thank you.
And bizarrely, it was quite fun, I have to say. I was dreading it, but actually it ended up being quite good fun, particularly at the end when you see it and you read it back to yourself and you go, blimey, that is me. I really is me. I mean, David was great. He said, you need a hook. You need something for people to grab hold of. And so I said to him something like, well, I like really big, hairy projects. And he goes, that's it. That's great. That's your hook. So that was weaved into it. And I read it back and I go, yeah, that really is me. May sound a bit bizarre, but it makes you stand out. It gives you something different, something memorable as well. Any other questions? If not, I'll give you a couple more perspectives. Maybe that might.
Andrew, I've got a quick question. With regards to clients that you are getting, primarily where are your clients coming from? From ISPs, your network?
Well, ISPs more and more because I'm building that profile. So what I have done is tested it on many people. So I've done the market research. So I've talked to as many managing directors, CEOs, or whatever that I can, and I just say to them, "Can I talk to you about my proposition? What do you think?" Just that's obviously friendly ones. I don't just go up to anybody, but just people who I know, and you get a lot of very good feedback. But also they remember, and I then get referrals from people I have spoke to. So spreading it out as your propositions far away, going talking to people, senior people or people to give their feedback is really important. The ISP market is gathering pace again. We're going through that sort of end of the year and then into start of next year. So they are starting to get more and more assignments. But what they don't have is time. So the time you spend now building with ISPs, that relationship is really important, because when they do have something, they look at their database and they remember you, then you'll get something much faster and quicker. So yeah, they're coming from everywhere, but the main, sorry.
Yeah, I was just sorry, Andrew, didn't mean to interrupt. I think we saw that the split, 52% of assignments by volume are through the ISPs. So it's really important that we do have that. We are able to target accurately and brief them correctly and equip them with what they need to represent us in the marketplace. Otherwise, we're only playing in half the market. Yeah, really important that we have that relationship fairly well nailed.
And also, the only thing I was going to say, David, is because you've done all that work with ISPs, it also means you've got a great CV and approach to go and get your own work too. So just by talking to people, it kind of comes in as well. So it's quite interesting to have both approaches.
And what's really encouraging is that the ISPs are now coming to the interim development program and saying, do you have anybody that fits this brief? Because they know they're going to get the quality, as opposed to if they put it onto LinkedIn, they're going to get 99% of the 300 people that respond are going to be not going to be interim ready. So yeah, they are coming to us for skills now.
And so you've got your hand up.
Yeah, my question was just about the demand, I suppose. Are you seeing that there's and I don't know if you know the answer to this, but a higher demand for interim work than there is for permanent work? Like, is it? Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I can answer that. Firstly, if you look at the market, there's a lot of nonsense talked about the market. Let's deal with stats here. The market itself is up year on year 6.7%. It's a £2.5 billion market. It's up 6.7%, and it's projected to grow at that level for at least until 2028. It's a healthy market. More clients, if you have a look on the website, there's some data on it, but more clients from more sectors are using interim. However, there is also a larger supply of interims. There's more people coming into the market. There's more people moving from permanent into interim. So it is quite competitive. So the whole point of this program is to put the interim ahead of the rest. Yeah, equip them better than those that are coming in from the permanent world and trying to get some interim work. So I would say, you know, if you take the program, you are going to be ahead of the rest of the game. So the market is healthy. Andrew alluded to it a moment ago that it is occasionally, it is quite seasonality as well, seasonal as well. January, February, March sees an upswing in assignments, because you get into the end of the financial year, because they want to be able to allocate the funds in this financial year, not the next financial year. The next season is September, October, and through until about the middle of November. And that's probably because the CEOs that come off the beach back into the boardroom and say, "Where's that interim? Where's that transformation program?" So you've got that sort of seasonality to it. But yeah, to answer your question, interim is doing better than permanent, that's for sure. And interim, in terms of number of assignments, is growing. The market is growing.
And can I ask another quick question? Sorry. Do you find that, or do people mix interim and perm, or once they've gone interim, they never go back to perm?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Very good question.
Had you asked me that BC, before COVID, I'd have said you're either an interim or you're permanent. Yeah, that's it. If you look at the way I think as we came through COVID, we were questioning how we work. Is a permanent career something that I want to do for X number of years? Which is why more people are moving from permanent into interim. And a friend of mine, a guy called Mark Evans, he talks about what do you call it? A fruit salad career. And that means you can do some interim work, you can do fractional, you can do a bit of non-executive director and so on. And the way that people present themselves on LinkedIn now is they say, this is my skill set. These are my areas of expertise in terms of sector and function. Now let's decide how we're going to work together. I can work with you as an interim, or I can work with you fractionally, or I can work with you, full-time permanently, or as a non-executive director. So we're kind of open to that sort of relationship. It's more about our skill set, and then saying, well, how do you want to benefit from my skill set? What sort of arrangement shall we have? So yeah, it's changed dramatically over the last 5 years, I think.
And that's, David's a really important point, because that's exactly what happened to the assignment I'm starting in January. Is because I had all three of those. I had the ability to be interim, had the ability to be fractional, or full-time if they really wanted to, or as a board advisor. And so I was talking to the CEO, and he kind of done a mix of board advisor plus interim. So I've got an interim assignment for a few months, and then I've got a year's board advisory role. So you end up actually getting a blend at the same time as well.
Tara, did you want to say something?
No, actually, my question was going to be around the interchangeability of fractional, interim and advisor. And it's you've just kind of answered that really beautifully. And being able to set yourself up with that flexibility, and does the program enable you to do that? Well, you've kind of answered that between you, so thank you, because that was going to be my question.
No worries, thank you, Cara.
I've got a question as well, actually.
Yeah.
It's around, I suppose, the area of expertise and the proposition perspective. I understand it's the functional area, but in terms of sector expertise, to set yourself as an interim, would it be, can it be sector agnostic, or do you have to kind of stick with the sector that you've actually operated in most recently?
Yeah.
A question.
That's a really good question. I think it depends on what your skill set is. I am sector agnostic. You know, I've worked in banking, finance, retail, utilities, fashion. You know, and it's because all I do is I relaunch brands, and I have a methodology that says, you know, here are the 10 steps, let's call it, of how you relaunch a brand. And it doesn't matter whether that's in finance with RBS or whether it's in fashion with Bowden. The methodology is the same. So I position myself as completely sector agnostic. Others will be maybe more specific to a particular sector. And whilst I would say that that's in a permanent world, that's really important. You know, if I'm a CEO of a bank, I'm looking for a CMO that's been in banking for all their lives on a permanent basis. If I'm looking for a CMO on an interim basis, then it would be good to get somebody in who's got skill set from other sectors. So I wouldn't use interim to move from one sector to another. But if you're in banking, that's maybe the bullseye of your target, but the ring around that is FS, fintech, retail, you know, insurance, and so on. And so you can be sector agnostic within that group, if you like. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
That looks as if we've just about done it. We've run a little bit over time, so forgive me for that. So let me just finish by thanking you firstly for coming along to the session today. I hope you found some of the information to be valuable. I would love to be able to have a discovery call with you and talk a little bit more about your requirements, your ambitions. Do give me a call, drop me a note, and happy to do that.